It's that time of year. The leaves turn orange and fall off their trees, the cold breeze flows in, nights get longer, the spookiness sets in, and people start to lose their minds over it. We might as well rename the entire month from October to Halloween at this point. A few weeks ago, me and my girlfriend decided to get into the spirit of things by watching some scary movies. We hopped on Netflix and the first thing that popped up was The Strangers, a movie about 3 goobers engaging in America's favorite pastime, home invasions. So before we get into it, grab a drink, lock the door, and get comfortable. Fair warning, I am going to be spoiling the entire movie. The movie begins with shots of a murder scene in a rural neighborhood alongside the obligatory "No for real guys, this actually happened" tagline that a lot of movies of the time loved to spam for some reason. We're quickly introduced to troubled couple Kristen McKay and James Hoyt, played by Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman. Anyways, it's easily apparent that the couple has had some sort of falling out after quietly returning home from a friend's wedding at around 4 a.m. one night. James decides to call his best friend Mike, as portrayed by Glenn Howerton of all people.
Well, why do you have a bunch of, weird tools in a hidden compartment in your car?
Fetish shit! I like to bind, I like to be bound!
And tells him to come pick him up in the morning once he wakes up. This is an important detail for later on. It's also revealed that James proposed to Kristen at said wedding, and she turned him down because she felt like she wasn't ready. I want to save my opinions on James for later, and believe me, I have many, but the way he reacts to this is very childish. She very clearly loves him and doesn't want the relationship to end, and she gives him multiple opportunities to just settle down for the night so they can work past it later. James, on the other hand, for lack of a better term, is a bit of a whiny He's very pouty about the whole thing, and while I can understand that he'd feel a little hurt, he did just try to propose to his girlfriend at someone else's wedding. What did he expect to happen? Who even does that? This is just the first example of James being a bit of a schmuck in this movie. To reconciliate, the couple begin to engage in some sweet countercoitus before being rudely interrupted by a loud knock on the door. They come face to face with a mysterious unknown woman in the darkness, a stranger if you will. She asks if there is a woman named Tamara there, and upon being told no, she leaves. Afterwards, while sitting in awkward silence, James decides to go buy cigarettes for Kristen to get away for a few minutes. He also decides to drive drunk. As Kristen tries to unwind by herself to some music, the strange girl from before comes knocking again for seemingly no reason. Unnerved, Kristen makes the right decision to lock the door, only to find that smoke is now billowing out of her fireplace. After dealing with that, she then calls James and tells him to return home immediately. Even though you can't really hear what he's saying, you can kind of tell that he's already being dismissive of her. This gets worse. Stupidly worse. As she smokes a cigarette in the kitchen, a mysterious man appears in the background before vanishing out of sight. She then suddenly hears a loud thud coming from somewhere else in the house. Spooked, she grabs a knife before going to investigate and quickly realizes she's in a YouTube prank video.
Top of the morning to you, ladies! My name is...
Scary things happen, the music gets loud, and she flees into her bedroom. She accidentally cuts her hand when she smashes her lamp on the floor so she could try to hide. Okay, from here I'm going to really speed things up, so bear with me. James arrives, says some very stupid things. They look around the entire house for some reason instead of just getting the hell out. Finds no one there. James realizes he left his phone out in the car. Surprise! He lives in Detroit. Decides to back up his car with slashed tires, fucking up his rims in the process. As he grabs his phone, tag! He's it. Sees Weirdo Girl again, comes back inside the house to discuss next moves with his girlfriend. As they're talking, he sees that somebody threw away his phone's battery. Now he decides it's time to leave. Takes his girlfriend back to the wrecked Volvo, but little does he know that women are allowed to drive. They run back to the house and find a dismantled gun. Doesn't know how to use it, by the way.
I don't know how to use this thing.
What do you mean?
I'm not sure I even know how to load it.
But you said you used to hunt with your dad.
No, I never did. It was something I said.
Here's Johnny. Bang, bang. They end up hiding themselves in a room with only one way in and wait to blast the first intruder that walks by, which just so happens to be their good friend, Dennis Reynolds. As a coping mechanism, James body slams his girlfriend. They make even more stupid decisions. Chucklenuts loses a 2v1 despite being the only one with a firearm. Kristen gets body slammed again. Now it's morning and they're both being held captive by the strangers who've been tormenting them all night. Kristen asks why they're doing this. Dollface says the scary line, they all unmask, stab, stab, stab. The strangers leave and have this stupid interaction with these random kids.
One? Are you a sinner? Sometimes.
Seriously, who the fuck speaks like this? Kids enter the home, house is a mess, people are dead. Alright, so from that quick summary, you might have been able to discern that I might have some negative opinions on this movie. You can maybe even tell which exact moment the film completely lost me. That being said, the first 30 minutes did an incredible job of managing tension. When I was watching this movie for the first time with my girlfriend, I was actually a bit anxious. I've lived in rural areas my whole life, and the idea of a knock on the door late at night has always terrified me a bit. One thing I can really say that's positive about the film is the setting. The house itself feels very claustrophobic, and the fact that it all takes place at night adds a lot of eeriness to the whole thing. It makes it feel like the strangers could pop out of any corner. I've lived in houses that have a similar vibe, and when Kristen grabbed a knife after hearing a loud thump in the house, I felt that in my soul. Now, when I say the first 30 minutes, I mean literally the first 30 minutes. After the 30-minute mark, James comes home, and boy does the plot go out the window. Let me explain. Nothing can kill the tension in a horror movie for me more than characters that make absolutely stupid decisions. Sometimes it can work if the character is intentionally written to be an idiot, but I don't think this movie was going for that with James. I think he's meant to be a bit of an asshat, but with the amount of times that he does or says something nonsensical, I can't rationalize how someone could be this dumb. So he comes home, finds his girlfriend losing her mind, saying that somebody else is in the house. His first response?
No one out here. Nobody, come here.
Yeah, I can see why Kristen didn't want to marry him. Bear in mind, he loves this woman so much that he literally just proposed to her hours before this happens. He is dismissive of her every opportunity he gets for absolutely no reason. And when he had his phone, why didn't he call the cops? The smartest decision James makes in the entire movie is to camp out in the bedroom with a shotgun, even if it did lead to him capping out Glenn Howerton.
Well, there it is.
This is then followed by the stupidest decision in the movie. Out of desperation, James makes the five-head decision to try and go to the shed in the backyard to radio for help. Alone. Leaving his already wounded girlfriend to hide and fend for herself while he plays Rambo in the backyard. That goes about as well as you expect.
Bonk!
Why did he do this? Look, I get that you shot your best friend. It happens to all of us. But why couldn't you just camp out in another room until sunrise? Why go full Scooby-Doo? James didn't even know how to use the gun at first. Could he really be trusted to operate a radio? I get that the plot needs to advance itself, but Jesus. The strangers didn't have to do a thing in this movie to outsmart the leading couple. The couple did all the heavy lifting themselves, and that's my biggest complaint with the movie. If James wasn't such a silly geese, the story wouldn't work. This is an idiot plot. As for the strangers themselves, they're a toss-up for me. My favorite aspect of them is that they don't really speak beyond a couple of lines. I think it adds a lot of mystery to their characters. You don't know who these people are, and by the end you only know that they're doing this literally just because. I know the later movies apparently ruin that mystique by trying to explain every single detail about them, but in a bubble without the needless context, I think they're decently effective horror antagonists. I like their leader a lot. I think making him look like a stereotypical slasher by wearing a canvas bag gives him a bit of charm. It's simple and effective. The other two, I don't care for as much. I'm just gonna be upfront. I think the plastic masks look silly. I grew up during the time when The Purge was still a blockbuster series, so I'm a bit burnt out on doll-like cartoon masks. To this film's defense, it came out 5 years before the first Purge movie, and this is more of a minor gripe than anything else. This might just be me being a bitter old man who hates fun, but I just don't find the other two strangers quite as intimidating because of it. Also, why don't any of them wear gloves? As for how the strangers actually operate, I don't really think they're all that smart either. Like, yeah, they can get in and out of the house undetected while vanishing in and out of spaces like fucking Batman, but it felt like they didn't really know why they were there either. To the film's defense, I mean, it kind of alludes to the fact that this is the first time they're doing this, but still. I think their dumbest moment was when Kristen, with a broken ankle, is belly crawling to the shed in the backyard as one of the strangers is coming up behind her. At this point, they already captured Chuckle Nuts and his gun, which meant they already basically won. So why did she choose to vanish here? What was the point in letting Kristen get to the radio? To deliver a sick jump scare? From what I've seen in a lot of discussions online, the most talked about moment from this movie that people really clung on to was the "because you were home" line. Although I don't really think it's that scary, I get why people find it unnerving, especially in 2008. 2008 was a bit more of a trusting time, and the idea that random people could just come up to your house to torture you to death at 4 a.m. for literally no reason other than because I was bored LMAO wasn't really thought of as much. Sure, the Manson family did its thing in the 70s, which apparently this movie takes a lot of inspiration from, but that's not exactly something that happens very often. All in all, I think that's part of the reason why this film was remembered so fondly. There really wasn't a home invasion movie like it at the time, none that I can recall at least. It also didn't seem like a very big year for horror films. The only popular films I could recognize were Saw 5, Quarantine, and Cloverfield. If I'm going to be honest, I didn't even know this movie existed until this year. I only know now because I've seen reviews for some of the newer films and everybody kept saying how good this one was. I know I have a lot of criticism for The Strangers, but I really don't think it's a horrible movie. Again, it does do a very good job with managing tension, even after James stumbles back into the plot. It was beautifully shot too, and the sound design is solid. Despite not liking how the characters were written, I do like the actors playing them. I think they were all well cast and did their roles convincingly. Maybe besides the kids. Imagine being like 12 and walking into an actual crime scene with bodies everywhere. Is this the emotion you would display? It looks like he's about to start poking him with a stick. I'd say if you like horror films, this one's worth the watch, warts and all. Though, I did just spoil the entire thing, didn't I? To wrap things up, let me know what you think in the comments below, if you agree with me or if you think I'm being too harsh in the movie. No such thing as a wrong answer. If you enjoyed, please like and share, and obviously if you want to see more, subscribe. This is my first time making a video like this, and I'm still figuring things out. If you have any suggestions or things I can improve upon, let me know. I'm thinking my next video is going to be on Robert Pattinson's Batman, since that's a movie I watched recently and really liked. Anyways, thank you for watching, and have a happy Halloween.